My retirement account had $11.47 left in it, and the man who emptied it was standing at the front of our church fellowship hall accepting an award for ethical leadership. His wife was clapping. My best friend was crying with pride. And I was in the back row with my printed statement shaking in my hand, realizing Daniel Price had not just stolen my future. He had used my trust as the key. 3 years before that night, Daniel Price was the safest person I knew. He was 44, always in navy suits, always smelled faintly like cedar and peppermint, and ran Price Harbor Wealth Advisors out of a brick office in downtown Portland, Oregon. I was 58 then, Mary Ann Ellis, a surgical scheduling coordinator at St. Anne's Medical Center. I had spent 32 years answering phones, calming terrified patients, and eating lukewarm soup at my desk between appointments. My retirement account was my pride, $418,600 from my late husband's pension rollover, my 403b, and every extra shift I had worked since 1997. Daniel had been my financial advisor for 9 years. He coached my church softball team, brought lasagna when my husband, Paul, passed in 2018, and once sat at my kitchen table until 10 p.m. explaining beneficiary forms while rain tapped against the windows. "You're not just a client, Mary Ann," he told me, sliding a folder across my maple table. "Your family." His wife, Rebecca, and I volunteered together at the Cedar Hills Food Pantry every second Saturday. His daughter went to college on a scholarship my women's group helped fund. When Daniel recommended moving my retirement into what he called a conservative income strategy, I trusted him. He said it was a mix of municipal bonds, annuities, and senior housing notes that would generate $2,800 a month when I retired at 62. "Boring is beautiful," he said, tapping the page with his silver pen. "We protect the nest egg. We don't gamble with it." The first strange thing happened on March 15th, a Wednesday, when Daniel called me at work. I remember because the break room smelled like burnt coffee and microwaved broccoli, and I was peeling the foil off a yogurt. "Mary Ann, quick housekeeping item," he said. His voice sounded too bright, like someone forcing a smile. "You'll get a DocuSign later. Standard compliance update." "What is it for?" "Just confirming your risk tolerance. Nothing changes." That night, the link expired before I opened it. The next morning, his assistant, Tara, called. "No worries," she said quickly. "Daniel handled it in office. You're all set." I frowned at the rain streaking my kitchen window. "Handled what?" "Oh, just the update. He said you'd discussed it." I should have pushed harder. Instead, I let it go. Daniel was Daniel. Then my statements changed. The paper was glossier. The logo at the top said Harbor Ridge Income Partners, not Fidelity. In July, a $9,500 administrative placement fee appeared. In September, I noticed my online login had been reset. Daniel said, "The platform upgraded. Everyone's passwords changed." He always had an answer. And I wanted so badly to believe him that I swallowed every one. The truth arrived on November 6th in a cream-colored envelope with a smudged return address from Wilmington, Delaware. I opened it at my kitchen counter while lentil soup simmered on the stove. The house smelled like thyme and onions. Rain hissed against the gutters. At first, my eyes refused to understand the numbers. Account value, $11.47. I blinked. The black print seemed to swim. My fingers went cold, then numb. I gripped the counter so hard my knuckles ached. I called Daniel. No answer. I called again. Then again. Finally, his receptionist picked up. "Price Harbor Wealth, this is Melissa." "This is Mary Ann Ellis. I need Daniel right now. He's in meetings all afternoon." "My retirement account says $11, I whispered. My throat felt packed with cotton. There has to be a mistake. A pause. Keyboard clicking. Then Melissa's voice dropped. Mrs. Ellis, Daniel is unavailable. Put him on the phone. I'm sorry, I can't. I drove to his office in a storm so heavy my windshield wipers could barely keep up. The lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and new carpet. Daniel stepped out of the conference room, saw my face, and went pale. I held up the statement. What is this? He reached for my elbow. Let's talk privately. No, I said, my voice shaking. Tell me why my life savings are gone. He looked past me at Melissa. Marianne, you signed the documents. I signed for conservative income. His jaw tightened. Markets have risk. $11 is not market risk, Daniel. That is a grave. In his office, with the door closed, he used words like temporary illiquidity, valuation delay, and asset restructuring. His leather chair creaked as he shifted. I could hear the wall clock ticking like a hammer. Then he said the sentence that split my life in two. You approved a full allocation to Harbor Ridge Senior Living Development Fund. My ears rang. Full allocation? All $418,600. I stared at him. His diplomas hung behind him in gold frames, suddenly looking like props. You told me 20%. He folded his hands. You must have misunderstood. The room tilted. My mouth went dry. Show me my signature. He opened a digital file and turned the monitor toward me. There it was. My name, scrawled in blue, approving high-risk private placement, limited liquidity, and total investment amount, $418,600. But the signature was wrong. The M in Marianne had a loop I never made. My stomach clenched so hard I thought I might be ill. That's not mine, I said. Daniel's eyes flicked away for half a second. It was tiny. Almost nothing. But I saw it. Then he leaned back and said, softly, be careful, Marianne. Accusing someone of forgery can get messy. That was when I knew this was not a mistake. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in orthopedic shoes and a raincoat. I pulled every statement from the file cabinet in my guest room. I called Fidelity directly. I requested transaction histories, transfer authorizations, custodial forms, risk assessments, everything. Each envelope that arrived made my hands tremble before I opened it. The first twist came from a woman named Sonia Patel at Fidelity's fraud department. Mrs. Ellis, she said, the liquidation request came from Price Harbor Wealth on April 2nd. It included a notarized letter. I never signed a notarized letter. I'm looking at it now, she said carefully. The notary is listed as Tara Whitcomb, Daniel's assistant. My kitchen suddenly felt too small. The refrigerator hummed. The soup cans in my pantry looked too bright, too ordinary. Then I found the second layer. Harbor Ridge Senior Living Development Fund was not a real senior housing project. There was no construction site. No residents. No property permits in Oregon, Washington, or Idaho. The glossy brochure showed smiling older couples in front of a building that, according to a reverse image search my nephew helped me run, was actually a retirement community in Arizona. But the worst part came from Oregon's corporate registry. Harbor Ridge's managing partner was Northstar Administrative Holdings. Northstar's registered agent was Daniel's older brother, Vincent Price. I sat at my desk and whispered, "Oh, Daniel." My printer hummed, spitting out page after page. Payments from my account. Wire transfers. Placement fees. Consulting fees. A $42,000 marketing reimbursement to Price Harbor Wealth. My retirement had been fed into a machine built by Daniel and his brother, and I was not the only one. I recognized names on investor lists: Margaret Lowe from choir, Henry and Paula Kim from the pantry, my dentist's receptionist, even Rebecca's widowed mother. Daniel had robbed the people who prayed beside him. For a while, I broke quietly. I called in sick 3 times in December, lying under my quilt while the room stayed gray from dawn to evening. Food tasted like cardboard. I lost 9 pounds before Christmas. At 3:17 every morning, I would wake up with my heart pounding, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned slowly in the dark. I kept hearing Daniel's voice, "Your family." My hands shook when I paid bills. I stopped opening mail for a week. The smell of cedar from the little sachets in my closet made me furious because it reminded me of his office. I cried in the grocery store when I passed the retirement magazines near the checkout. One night, my friend Lena Morales came over with chicken soup and found me sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by documents. She read one page, then another. Her face hardened. "Marianne," she said, "this is not bad luck. This is theft wearing a tie." I whispered, "I feel so foolish." She put her hand over mine. "No. He counted on you feeling foolish. That is part of the trap." The turning point came on January 8 at the church winter fundraiser. I had not planned to go, but Lena made me. The fellowship hall smelled like coffee, cinnamon rolls, and wet wool coats. Daniel stood near the stage laughing, his hand on the shoulder of an elderly man I knew, Mr. Becker, who had just sold his house to downsize. I heard Daniel say, "We'll make your money work safely for you." Something hot rose through my chest. Mr. Becker smiled and handed Daniel a folder. My grief hardened into something clean and sharp. I stepped into the coat room, called Lena, and said, "I'm done crying." "Good," she said. "Now we build the case." The plan took 6 months, and I treated it like surgery prep. Precise. Sterile. No wasted motion. First, I hired a securities attorney named Priya Desai, whose office overlooked the Willamette River. She was 52, calm as stone, with silver-framed glasses and a voice that could slice paper. "Do not confront him alone again," Priya said, flipping through my files. "Do not warn him. Do not post online. We are going to let documents speak." She helped me file complaints with FINRA, the Oregon Division of Financial Regulation, and the SEC. Then she sent preservation letters to Price Harbor Wealth, Fidelity, Harbor Ridge, Northstar, and Tara the Notary. Second, I recruited victims carefully. Lena and I invited Margaret Lowe for tea. My dining room smelled like Earl Grey and lemon cookies while Margaret's eyes filled with tears over her own statement. "He told me my account was resting," she said, clutching her purse. "What does that even mean?" "Nothing good," I said. Within 4 weeks, we had 11 investors. Total losses, $3.2 million. Third, Priya arranged for a forensic accountant, Russell Kim, to trace the money. He found payments to Daniel's office, Vincent's company, and something none of us expected, monthly consulting fees to a company called RWP Community Outreach. RWP belonged to Rebecca Price. That was the second twist that knocked the breath out of me. Rebecca, sweet Rebecca from the food pantry, had been receiving $6,000 a month while helping Daniel recruit widows through charity events. Priya looked at the spreadsheet and said, "Now we know why she was always at his seminars." Finally, we set the trap. Daniel was scheduled to receive the Cedar Hills Civic Trust Award on June 14. Priya did not want drama for drama's sake. She wanted witnesses, records, and timing. So we served subpoenas to Price Harbor and Harbor Ridge the morning of the banquet, while state investigators quietly attended as guests. We also provided the Civic Trust Board with a sealed packet of verified documents 2 hours before Daniel's speech. "Let him walk into the room believing he owns it," Priya said. "Then let the truth take the microphone." The execution began at 8:05 a.m. on June 14. I was in Priya's office wearing my best black dress, my palms damp against a folder full of copies. Outside, gulls cried over the river, and the air smelled like rain on hot pavement. At 8:17, the courier confirmed delivery of the subpoenas. At 9:03, Russell texted that the wire trace packet had been received by the state investigators. At 10:22, the Civic Trust chair, Elaine Porter, called me. Her voice shook. "Marianne, are these documents real?" "Yes." "There are checks to his wife." "Yes." A long silence. Then Elaine said, "Come tonight." I nearly lost my nerve at 4:40 p.m. when Tara called me from an unknown number. "Mrs. Ellis," she whispered, "Daniel is shredding files." My skin prickled. "Tara, listen to me. Step away from anything illegal." "He said I notarized things I don't remember notarizing," she said. I could hear paper rustling, her breath trembling. "I did some, but not all." "He used my stamp." "Call Priya Desai," I said. "Right now. Tell the truth before he buries you with him." That call almost blew everything, because Daniel started calling investors, including me. His name flashed on my phone at 5:12 p.m. I let it ring. My living room smelled like hairspray and lavender lotion. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. He left a message. "Marianne, I hear you've been confused about some documents. We should talk before you embarrass yourself tonight." I deleted nothing. I forwarded it to Priya. At 6:30, Lena picked me up. She squeezed my hand in the car. "Ready?" I looked at the banquet hall glowing through the windshield, all gold lights and polished windows. More than ready. The ballroom at the Multnomah Athletic Club glittered with chandeliers. Forks clinked against china. Coffee steamed in white cups. Daniel stood near the stage in a charcoal suit, smiling for photos with Elaine Porter, though Elaine's smile looked frozen. Rebecca wore emerald green. When she saw me, her face tightened. "Marianne," she said, stepping close. Her perfume was floral and heavy. "This is not the place." I looked straight at her. "Funny. It was the place when you handed my name to your husband." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Dinner passed like a held breath. My knees bounced under the table. Lena sat beside me, steady as a wall. At the next table, Margaret Lowe clutched a napkin in both hands. Finally, Elaine walked to the podium. The room quieted. "We are here tonight to honor leadership," she began. Her voice echoed through the speakers. "But leadership without integrity is performance." Daniel's smile flickered. Elaine continued, "Before presenting any award, the board has a duty to address information brought to us today regarding Mr. Daniel Price, Price Harbor Wealth, and Harbor Ridge Senior Living Development Fund." A ripple moved through the room. Daniel stood. "Elaine," he said loudly, "this is inappropriate." Two state investigators in plain suits rose from a back table. Priya stepped forward from the side of the room with a binder in her hands. Daniel's face drained of color. Rebecca gripped the back of a chair. Elaine said, "Mr. Price, we have copies of forged investor forms, undisclosed related party payments, and wire transfers connecting client retirement funds to companies controlled by your family." "That's not accurate," Daniel snapped. His voice cracked. "These are complicated investments." Margaret Lowe stood up, her tiny frame shaking. "You told me my money was safe." Daniel looked at her, then at me. For the first time in all the years I had known him, there was no polished answer ready. I walked to the front holding my original signature card and the forged authorization. My fingers were steady. "You told me I misunderstood," I said into the silence. "You told me to be careful." So I was careful. I kept every statement. Every email. Every voicemail. And I found everyone else you did this to. A man near the back muttered, "Oh my goodness." One investigator approached Daniel. "Mr. Price, we need you to come with us to answer questions." Daniel turned to Rebecca. "Say something." Rebecca stepped back. That was the moment I knew Karma had arrived, wearing sensible shoes and carrying a subpoena. The aftermath was not instant, but it was complete. Daniel's license was suspended within 48 hours and permanently barred by FINRA 6 months later. Price Harbor Wealth closed. Harbor Ridge and Northstar were placed under receivership. Vincent was charged in connection with the scheme. Rebecca resigned from every charity board in town after the consulting payments became public. Their house in Lake Oswego went up for sale before Thanksgiving. Tara cooperated. Her testimony helped prove Daniel had forged multiple client approvals and misused her notary stamp. The insurance carrier for Price Harbor fought us hard, but PRIA was harder. In FINRA arbitration, our group was awarded $3.8 million, including restitution, fees, and damages. My portion came to $476,200 after costs. More than I had lost. When the wire hit my new account at a different firm, I sat at my kitchen table and cried, but this time the tears felt clean. I retired from St. Anne's at 61 instead of 62. Then I started teaching free financial safety workshops at libraries and senior centers across Portland. Lena made me call it trust, but verify. The first session had 12 people. The third had 80. And Mr. Becker? He never invested with Daniel. He became my loudest volunteer. Last spring, I bought a small blue cottage in Astoria, 6 blocks from the river. Every morning, I drink coffee on the porch and watch the fog lift off the water. My new advisor is a woman named Camille who explains every fee, every risk, every document, and never once asks me to trust her blindly. Daniel took my peace for a season, but he did not get to keep my future. He thought kindness made me weak. He mistook my loyalty for blindness. He built a scheme out of signatures, handshakes, and church smiles, and then acted surprised when the women he underestimated learned how to read the fine print. The last time I saw him was in a courthouse hallway. He looked smaller, gray around the edges, no cedar scent, no silver pen. I walked past him without slowing down.